My heart wasn't in my throat. It was a lead weight in my stomach. A cold, sickening stone that dropped every time the serrated steel of the bulldozer's blade ripped another piece of my life away. A sound like a thunderclap, followed by the splintering crack of a 2x4, echoed across the placid surface of Cedarwood Lake. It was a beautiful, crisp fall morning. The kind you dream about all summer. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. A scent that used to be a comfort, but now tasted like ash. I stood there, utterly numb, clutching my phone. The call still ringing in my ear. "Ma'am, they're taking down your cabin. Like, right now. You need to come." How could this be happening? Just a few hours ago, I was in my home office, reviewing permits. A mountain of them. I'm not a monster. I'm just a civil servant. A county zoning commissioner. A little cog in a big grinding machine. My life is paperwork, spreadsheets, and the quiet dignity of making sure things are done by the book. My lake cabin was my escape. My sanctuary. It had been in my family for 3 generations. A place where the rules of the city didn't apply. Where the only sound was the whispering wind and the lapping water. Now, it was a crime scene. A pile of rubble. And the woman in charge, the one barking orders, was none other than Brenda Sterling, the head of the Lake Cedarwood Homeowners Association. A genuine Karen. In the flesh. I'd only met her once. A brief, frosty encounter at the county office. But the memory of her perfectly coiffed hair and pursed lips was seared into my brain. She called my father's cabin an eyesore. A blight on the community. A rustic disgrace. She was obsessed with property values and aesthetic conformity. And she had threatened to take action if I didn't comply with her laundry list of demands. I'd ignored her. Of course. My cabin was grandfathered in. Exempt from the HOA's bylaws. I had the paperwork to prove it. And she knew it. So what in the holy hell did she think she was doing? My drive to the lake was a blur. Every red light was an eternity. Every slow-moving minivan a personal insult. When I finally arrived, the destruction was even worse than I imagined. The front porch, where I'd spent countless hours watching the sunrise, was gone. The stone fireplace, my grandfather's pride and joy, lay in pieces. And Brenda Sterling, with her crisp white blazer, was supervising the carnage like a general surveying a battlefield. She didn't even flinch when she saw me. "Ah. There you are," she said, her voice dripping with condescension. "We sent you multiple notices. You were given ample time to bring this structure into compliance. Since you failed to do so, we were forced to take matters into our own hands." My jaw dropped. I couldn't speak. She was a hurricane of self-righteous fury. A one-woman demolition crew. A knot of rage tightened in my chest. I felt my breath hitch. A sharp, ragged sound. You can't do this," I stammered. "This is illegal. This is my property. It's been in my family forever." She scoffed. A tiny, dismissive sound. "I'm afraid you are mistaken. The bylaws are quite clear. Any structure that poses a significant risk to the community and fails to meet our standards is subject to removal. This eyesore was a danger. And now, it's a non-issue. You're welcome." The world went silent. I felt the blood pounding in my ears. A rhythmic drumbeat of fury. I took a deep breath, fighting to keep my voice from trembling. The burly bulldozer operator, a man with a look of unease on his face, had stopped the engine. He looked from me to Brenda, then back again. I knew him. His name was Dave. He'd just applied for a permit to build a new sunroom on his own property. A request I was currently reviewing. A sly, slow-burning fire ignited in my gut. I looked at Brenda. A cool, detached gaze replacing the raw panic in my eyes. "You know," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "That's quite the assumption. You assumed I wouldn't fight back. You assumed I didn't have the paperwork. But you made one more assumption. Didn't you? You assumed I was just some average homeowner." She laughed. A short, sharp bark. "And what are you? Then?" "Some grand poobah of zoning regulations." She had no idea how right she was. That's when the twist happened. My father, who lived in a small, quiet town nearby, had always been a man of simple pleasures. He loved his fishing, his old truck, and a good story. What I didn't know was that he also had a secret hobby, amateur radio. He'd been listening in on the community chatter. Not just the local ham radio but the unofficial channels the local builders and contractors used. He had heard Dave and his crew talking about the job. Heard Brenda's aggressive phone calls. And, a few days ago, he had heard a specific, very interesting piece of information. A few weeks prior, Brenda had had a massive fight with her husband. A fight that ended with him revealing that their new deck, which had won HOA Deck of the Year, was built without a permit. He was an architect, and he had pulled a few strings to get the blueprints approved. But the official county permit had never been filed. He'd told her to keep quiet, that no one would ever know. But my dad, with his radio antenna and his keen ears, had heard everything. He'd even recorded it. My dad, the man who knew every secret in this small corner of the world. I pulled myself up to my full height. My heart still a stone. But a stone of cold, hard resolve. I looked at Dave, who was watching me with a mixture of fear and sympathy. "Dave," I said, "I think you should probably stop now. And Brenda, I think you should prepare yourself for a call from your husband." Her face, which had been a mask of triumphant disdain, went utterly blank. "What are you talking about?" she hissed. "You don't know anything." I smiled. A cold, humorless curve of my lips. "Oh. But I do. I know everything. I know about your deck. The one you built without a permit. The one you were so proud of. The one that's getting a visit from a county inspector tomorrow morning. Funny how that works, isn't it?" Her face paled. You're bluffing," she whispered. "Am I?" I asked, my voice as sharp as glass. "I'm not the one who tears down other people's property. I'm the one who signs the paperwork. And I'm also the one who can revoke that permit for your beloved Deck of the Year. And I can assure you, Brenda, I'll get a great deal of satisfaction doing it." The air was thick with the silent horror of her realization. The burly man, Dave, looked at her with pure contempt, turned his bulldozer around, and drove away without a word. The dramatic confrontation was just getting started. It wasn't enough to just threaten her. I wanted her to feel the same hollow, sickening shock I felt when I first saw the rubble of my cabin. Over the next few days, I used every tool in my arsenal. I filed an official complaint with the county. I had the building inspector visit her property, who promptly issued a stop work order and a hefty fine. I went to the next HOA meeting and, instead of my usual quiet demeanor, I delivered a blistering, methodical presentation about her tyrannical overreach and the illegal destruction of my property. I had the video footage my father had secretly taken. I had my original permits. I had the official letter from the county attesting that my cabin was grandfathered in. Her reign of terror over the HOA was over. She was a pariah, shunned by her neighbors. Her carefully constructed kingdom of conformity crumbled. The quiet whispers and hushed glances of her friends were louder than any shouts. She had built her whole identity on being the one in charge. The one who made the rules. And now, she had nothing. The final act was a simple one. I didn't sue her. I didn't press charges. I just let the silence and the shame do their work. A few weeks later, I received a certified letter. It was an apology from Brenda. A cold, formal, legalistic apology. But an apology nonetheless. She had resigned from her position as HOA president. A part of me wanted to feel triumphant. But all I felt was a profound exhaustion. She had taken something from me that no legal victory could ever replace. She had torn down not just a cabin, but a piece of my history. My family. But from that rubble, I was starting to rebuild. I hired a new architect. A kind, brilliant woman who understood what the cabin meant to me. We would rebuild it. Not as it was, but as a new testament to my resilience. And this time, I wouldn't just have a permit. I'd have the satisfaction of knowing that the person who tried to destroy me had, in the end, only destroyed herself. This whole mess made me think a lot about what it means to be right. Was I right to use my position to get back at her? Was she right to stand by her bylaws? Even if she was wrong about me. It's a lot to think about. What do you think? Was my retribution fair? Or did I become the very thing I despised?